One thing that bugs me about my reading recommend series, that some people might wonder, why read? What's the benefit of reading Hitchhiker's Guide or About Discworld? To quote one of my favorite comedian Bill Hicks, what you reading for? Well, good news. Today's recommendation actually does have a benefit. No, let me rephrase that. One of the recommended reading can be used as a weapon to embarrass your enemy. Well, if you're more noble-minded, you can instead use it as a weapon to embarrass your friend. But you will have to sit through the video to get to it. Another thing is, I understand time is tough right now. Unless one is sailing the high sea, one may not want to have that extra purchase or even wait for the long delivery time. Well, today's recommendation, actually you can read it for free. Enough suspension? Today my recommendation is a comic strip. Please don't go away. Just give it a chance, will you? Please? First published on April 16, 1989, written and illustrated by Scott Adams. Today we are talking about Dilbert. It's a satirical office humor about a white-collar, micromanaged office featuring engineer Dilbert as the title character. The strip has spawned dozens of books, an animated television series, a video game, and hundreds of Dilbert-themed merchandise items. The comic strip originally revolved around Dilbert and his pet dog Dogbird in their home. Many early plots revolved around Dilbert's engineering nature or his bizarre inventions. Later, the location of most of the action moved to Dilbert's workplace, and the strip started to satirize technology, workplace, and company issues. The comic strip's popular success is attributed to its workplace settings and themes, which are familiar to a large and appreciative audience. I will show 16 of my favorite strips on the screen just to get you into the mood and giving an idea. These are what I liked most. Trust me, narrowing down to only 16 from over 10,000 was not easy. Dilbert portrays corporate culture as a Kafkaesque world of bureaucracy for its own sake and office politics that stands in the way of productivity, where employees' skill and efforts are not rewarded, and busy work is praised. Most of the humor emerges as the audience sees the characters making obviously ridiculous decisions that are the natural reaction to mismanagement. As far as the characters, the main character in the strip, Dilbert, is a skilled engineer with a poor social and romantic life. The character has ideas which are typically sensible and occasionally even revolutionary, but they are rarely pursued because he is powerless. He is frustrated by the incompetence and malevolence of his co-worker, most often the pointy-haired boss, and often is sarcastic and snide. Then we have pointy-haired boss, the unnamed oblivious manager of the engineering division of Dilbert's company. Scott Adams states that he never named him so that people can imagine him to be their boss. He is hopelessly incompetent in management and often tries to compensate for his lack of skills with countless group therapy sessions and business strategies that rarely bear any fruit. He does not understand technical issues, but always tries to disguise these, usually by using buzzwords he also does not understand. We have Wally, one of the longest serving engineers, who was originally a worker trying to get fired to get a severance package. He hates work and avoids it whenever he can. Fun fact, Adam has stated that Wally was based on a Pacific Bell co-worker of his who was interested in a generous employee buyout program for the company's worst employees. One of the more competent and highest paid engineers is Alice. She is often frustrated at her work because she does not get proper recognition, which she believes is because she is female. Though in reality, it is likely because she has a quick, often violent temper, sometimes putting her fist of death to use. At times, they call her Hun. And no, that's not a sexist call being short of honey, instead is short for Attila the Hun. Ashok is intensely intelligent young intern, who is also naive about corporate life. His IQ of 240 shows that he is the smartest member of the engineering team. Nonetheless, he is often called upon by the boss to do odd jobs, and in meetings, his ideas are usually left hanging. There are a few jokes about Ashok's psychic power, which he learned at the Indian Institute of Technology, IIT. The garbage man, often referred to as the world's smartest garbage man, is a mysterious and philosophical figure, and arguably the smartest character in the Dilbert universe. The calm garbage man is a skilled inventor, having created all sorts of advanced technologies, including a weather control device, a phaser, and an anti-stupidity gun. Dilbert's anthropomorphic pet dog is the smartest dog on earth. Dogbert is a megalomaniac intellectual dog, planning to one day conquer the world. Cadbert is the evil director of human resources. He was supposed to be a one-time character, but resonated with readers so well that Adams brought him back as the HR director. Cadbert's origin with the company are that he was hired by Dogbert. Dogbert hired him because he wanted an HR director that appeared cute while secretly downsizing employees. The popularity of the comic strip within the corporate sector has led to the Dilbert character being used in many business magazines and publications, including several appearances on the cover of Fortune magazine. Many newspapers run the comic in their business section rather than in the regular comics section. Now, what would any comic strip be without any controversy, right? One criticism being Adams' caricature of corporate culture seems to project empathy for white-collar worker, but the satire ultimately plays into the hand of upper corporate management itself. In fact, Xerox Corporation used Dilbert strips and characters in internally distributed inspirational pamphlets. At this point, I'm putting air quotes around inspirational, as apparently Dilbert is an offbeat sugary substance that helps the corporate medicine go down. My 2 cents? In my previous job, there were things we would laugh about, knowing full well we couldn't change any of it. At those times, finding the correct strip and sharing it between us did make our life a bit jollier. In 1995, Dilbert was the first syndicated comic strip to be published for free on the internet, which brings me to my earlier point on being able to read it for free. How bloody cool is that? Once you get hooked, you may actually want to have it as a book or two. Journey to Cubeville. The fluorescent light glistens off your head. Random acts of management. When did ignorance become a point of view? And if you really want to, here is the piece de resistance. Dilbert 2.0, 20 years of Dilbert. Honestly, this book is beautiful. It has a short biography of Scott and how he got started on his amazing journey. By the way, this is not a paid promotion. I have purchased all these books myself over years. And no, I know this is a really heavy book, but this is not the weapon I mentioned. Next, it's not funny if I have to explain it. If you wanted to know what the creator was thinking, this is the book. All the strip has a little tagline on the thought process behind. At the start of this video, I had made a promise of a weapon to embarrass your enemy or friend. Well, here it is. Dilbert gives you the business. How's this a weapon? Well, why don't I let you hear what Scott had to say, but obviously I'm reading it. In the old method, you might have access to only 1 or 2 Dilbert comics to make your point. It's nearly impossible to do a thorough job of mocking someone when you are so limited in your choice of comics. Thanks to this book, that will never be a problem again. Now you can show someone a few dozen Dilbert strips on the same topic and be certain your message gets across. You will never again have to deal with the same annoying question, "Are you trying to tell me something?" If you like what you have seen or read so far, you may want to have a look at some of the other work. Here we have one of the most read books in the series, The Joy of Work from 1998, a 2-part book. The first part offers recommendation as to how office workers can find happiness at their cubicle desk, and the second part is a formula for creating humors based on the author's experience penning the Dilbert comic strip. Obviously, the title is a comic reference to the 1972 sex manual, The Joy of Sex. Scott also claimed there is a third part that is made entirely out of invisible pages. If the book seems heavier than it looks, that's why. Next, one of my favorite, the Dilbert Principle. It's a concept in management developed by Scott, which states that companies tend to systematically promote incompetent employees to management to get them out of the workflow. The Dilbert Principle is inspired by the Peter Principle, which holds that employees are promoted based on success in their current position until they reach their level of incompetence and are no longer promoted. Under the Dilbert Principle, employees who are never competent are promoted to management to limit the damage they can do. Adam first explained the principle in a 1995 Wall Street Journal article and expanded upon in this 1996 business book, The Dilbert Principle. Dilbert and the Way of the Weasel. The chief premise of the book is that everyday actions of humanity are neither constantly honest nor criminal, but rather weasel. There are other fictional books as well. Now, this is making me sad. I can't seem to find at least 2 books I had. I'm not sure if I lent it to someone or what. Well, one was God's Debris and its sequel, The Religion War. God's Debris espouses a philosophy based on the idea that the simplest explanation tends to be the best. It proposes a form of pantheism and monoism, postulating that an omnipotent God annihilated himself in the Big Bang because an omniscient entity would already know everything possible except his lack of existence, and exists now as the smallest unit of matter and the law of probability, or God's debris. The delivery boy from this book becomes an avatar in religion war and must stop an epic clash of civilizations between the Western world, led by the Christian extremist General Horatio Cruz, and the Middle East, led by Muslim extremist Al-Zay. This was a scary story to read, with a brilliant scene where these 2 fundamentalists have a chance to stop the war over a game of chess, and you, as the reader, know what is at stake and what would happen if it's allowed to continue. Absolutely riveting. Damn, I'm going to go and search for those books again. As you might have noticed that this is quite a new channel, and during this genesis, comments and subscribe counts a lot more than usual. So if you have enjoyed this content, please drop a comment and like the video, and maybe subscribe as well. Also check out some of my other videos. Thank you. I would like to add something here. I'm British and I expect our politicians to be polite. But that's not the only reason why I dislike current American President Trump. I believe he is dangerous and thankful that I don't live in USA. Now, why am I saying this? Well, I saw some videos a couple of years ago where Scott Adams seems like endorsing Trump. I respect Scott and I think he's a highly intelligent individual. But does his feeling for Trump changes anything? Well, no, not for me. I can still enjoy his work. I had briefly mentioned Bill Hicks earlier. I cringe when I hear his sketch on Kennedy's shooting. Sir Isaac Newton, who is widely recognized as one of the most influential scientists of all time and as a key figure in the scientific revolution, dedicated much of his time to study of alchemy and biblical chronology. If you're a fan of Gandhi or Madame Teresa, you're not going to like what you're about to hear. Gandhi slept naked with teenage girls. Madame Teresa allowed people to suffer and die while not treating them with medicine. I had students in a black university in South Africa telling me how much they hated Nelson Mandela, and that was back in '97, when Mandela was super popular. TLDL, it doesn't matter what an author's political affiliation is, as long as you enjoy the content. And it's the same for YouTube videos. Wink wink,